Welcome, everybody, to Hum Daddies. I am Jake Lucas. I am here with Joe Starkey, producer extraordinaire Dave Greenstein, and today we have a very special guest. If you're listening to us or watching us, that means you're probably a fan of Bay Area sports, the Giants, the Niners, the Warriors, and like our friend Joe Starkey, the no longer Oakland Athletics. So if you're a fan of any of these teams, there's about 100% chance you're familiar with our guest today. We've had Zach Slenderbrook on, Zachariah from 95.7. This guy trumps him. Sorry, Zach, you're our buddy. You know we love you. This is none other than Sir Paul McCaffrey, Paulie Mac.
Yeah, man.
Bravo.
Hey, great. Thank you for the illustrious buildup right there, too. The Sir Paulie Mac. Damn, I've never been called Sir before. I feel like I've been officially knighted by the Hum Daddies, and I like it. So, Jake, Joe, Hum DG, great to be with you guys. Been following you guys online for a while now. We've had a couple of back and forths on our DMs and stuff. So, yeah, man, happy to be here. And thanks for accommodating me today. Great to see you, boys.
Dude, yeah, it's awesome you're here. I just want to start off by saying, I mean, I don't want to, embarrass you too much, but I'm a diehard. Murph and Mac was just my religion. For years. I lived in LA for a long time. When you and FP, I think, was it you and FP were let go a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. That I was quoted in the Chronicle. I said I was probably one of the first ones to figure out how to stream KMBR back then, just to get you and Murph. I mean, because I was there during 10, 12, and 14.
Yeah.
So I needed you guys. It was crucial.
No, I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that. And it's funny. I don't think I ever really fully understood the reach of the Murph and Mac show when I was there doing it. And we did it for a very long time. I mean, we got 18 years in together, which is pretty remarkable in radio. So I feel I'm very grateful for everything we got to do together. But like you just commented, Jake, I've heard that from a lot of people about how meaningful the show was to them. And the crazy thing is Murph and I would easily still be doing the show if the radio industry was in better shape. I mean, it's really unfortunate, but it's kind of like we're all watching the long, slow death of terrestrial radio. It's been going on for a few years. And what's happening is it's no longer really a viable outlet especially for kids younger than us. Like for the kid generation coming up now, unfortunately and sadly, they don't even really consider turning on the radio. It's just not something they think about. They have so many other ways to get their information and their news. As you guys know, there's a lot of streaming going on. There's laptops, there's podcasts. So radio is not in a great place, and there's no money left to pay people. So contracts are expiring. And what's happening more often than not is guys just aren't getting renewed because they signed those deals back in a time when radio was very prosperous. I mean, you could have a nice long career in radio just 10, 15, 20 years ago. It was still, you could really kind of plant a flag and have a good solid career. It's just not like that anymore. And people are coming to outlets like this, like they want to watch online, and it's a less formal presentation. And you know what else I learned, you guys? This is probably the biggest adjustment I've had to kind of wrap my head around, is that there really is no longer a need or an appetite from an audience perspective for 4 hours of content, like a 4-hour show. It's just too much. Like nobody's going to listen to 4 hours. You usually get an audience member for, 20 to 30 minutes if you're lucky, and then they got to jump out of their car and move on or whatever. But with this format, people consume the show whenever they want to or however they want to. Some listen at night, some like to watch it live. What have you guys found with your audience? Is it mostly happening with a live audience, or do you get more listeners after the fact? Like it's a new landscape, and I'm still kind of getting my legs under myself.
Yeah, well, the live thing, we're coming at it kind of slowly. We like to kind of do our recording and then leave it up to people on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and kind of have them pick and choose when they want to listen to it.
Sure.
I know.
And Paulie, also it's the ability to do some post-production, where we like to actually make more of a show and a feeling that here's some continuity. So we add an intro, an outro, add some bits and pieces. In fact, the impetus of our show was fun because we added some fun little media bits and pieces that was an homage to the Murph and Mac show, which we threw in the very first episode. We didn't get the best feedback from our wives because they don't like throw up sounds and funny little laughs and things like that. But it was definitely like a fun way for us to like say, hey, we want to try and put together the shows that we remember and build some, and that required from non-professionals, from amateurs, a little bit of extra post-production.
Yeah, no, it's a good, no, I totally understand. And that's it. Like, there's a lot of advantages to taping and then kind of inserting your own drops and inserting your, making edits as you see fit. So yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just like, it's a whole new landscape out here. And my show, the new show we're doing, Paulie Mac Particles, we've had it up for 6 months now. And it's really encouraging to see the growth. Like, I guess what I'm telling you guys is I have learned that there is an appetite for this kind of content. All those listeners, the KMBR listeners, are now kind of, like you said, like Jake, like you said, there are people that like the Murph and Mac show that are unhappy we're not together anymore, but they will respond to new programs. So Tom Tolbert's doing a new show, Larry Kruger's doing a new show, all these kind of former ex-Patriot KMBR guys. We're all out here on our own now, and we're all kind of launching our own things. And it's very encouraging, you guys. You're going to do fine. You just gotta stay with it and keep delivering content, and people will come. They really will. As you know,
I want to say that I think you were the reason why we started doing this pod. Jake came back heartbroken when he heard the news about KMBR letting you go.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what? I think we can do this. And
yeah.
It was that week, that news that kind of got us off the couch.
Well, thank you guys. And that's the right attitude, man. It's like, yes, you can do it, man. You absolutely can. If you have a passion for sports and you can deliver the information with a little bit of flair and a little bit of your own personality, it's going to work. And that's like, if I could give any advice to anybody doing this, that's what it would be, is just be yourself. Don't try to morph into something you're not. Stay with your own comfort zone, and people are going to respond. And by the way, Joe, shout out to your t-shirt, bro. I like that. The stick. Very nice. Yeah, I'm a Candlestick kid, man. I grew up in that joint, and I still miss it, man. Every time I drive down 101 and I see those condos over there, it's like, oh God, it still breaks my heart.
So depressing, so unnatural. Yeah. It's bizarre.
I just can't get on board with Levi's yet, but I'll be heading down there in September. But I wish it was the stick still.
Me too. No, you ain't the only one, man. We all do. I think a lot of Niner fans miss the stick. Some Giant fans too. I mean, the Giant setup is so great with the new yard they have, and they've had such great history in there with the 3 World Series and all these playoff runs. But the Niners, man, yeah, there is something about Levi's. It just doesn't have the soul. It doesn't have the soul, and it doesn't have the history of the stick. And hopefully it'll get there in time. But you're right, bro. We all miss Candlestick.
Totally. And Paul, to your point, the thing I miss the most about the dynamic, well, actually, I get it with you and Tony. I used to listen to you, Tony, and Shannon's podcast too, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I know didn't have as big of an audience as Murph and Mac, but
right.
The fact that you guys used to mesh sports with movies and music. And, now it seems like all the sports radio stuff is just like mouth breather shit. It's like, I only care about sports and the same talking point over and over. And I'm going to hammer you on the head with the same bullshit over and over and over again with nothing else going on. So it's refreshing to find that, even Tolbert, who played pro sports, he has a whole nother side to him where he talks about movies and music all the fucking time.
Right. Right.
And so we're missing that, I think, with a lot of the modern takeover of sports radio and sports talk.
Yeah, and it's that is a result primarily of show hosts being told by their management and their program directors that they have to, what they call, reset the topic at the top of every hour. Whatever you talked about last hour, you got to reset that new hour for the new audience. And you're right. No, it does get monotonous. It does get kind of mechanical, and it's not as genuine as having a wide open format like this. That's one of the things we like about this so much. I was talking to Larry Kruger last night off the air, and I was like, man, it's so great to have, the freedom to navigate however you want to use your own instincts. Like if you're on a topic and it's really working, like a lot of people wanted to talk about Matt Williams today and the fact that he's been kind of choking at third base and sending guys home and he shouldn't, and it's hurting. And by the way, I got an update for you guys. Giants now losing 10-5. Dude, make it stop, you guys.
Oh my God.
I got to tell you, watching the Giants, like they're about to get swept at home by the Florida Marlins, who are, well, today they're 12 games under 500, but this is not a good sign, man. This is like good playoff bound teams don't get swept at home by the Miami Marlins. Anyway, side note there. But back to your point. You're right. And I believe, and I've always believed, that you showing the audience like a little more of yourself is really going to benefit you guys, because people do get tired of X's and O's, especially if it's being pounded into your head for 4 hours. Like, people want to know who you are. They want to know like where you're from and all those little kind of detail and the stuff you're into outside of the Giants and the Niners and the Warriors. Like people, I've found in my experiences, people do respond to that and they do care. The audience likes to know who you guys are. Trust me on that.
Yeah. And speaking of who we are, either Dave or Joe, I'm hearing kids.
That sounds like Dave.
We are the daddies, Jakey.
Hey, man, I've been there. I know the drill. Yeah.
So I'm curious about that. When you're at KMBR, do you feel like you're in a little bit of a box? Because, I remember being a huge A's fan and they acted like they never existed. They could be in the playoffs. They could have been 20 games in first place and nobody said a word and drove me nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty much a result of the Giants being business partners with the KMBR being business partners with the Giants. And no, you're right, man. You're right, Joe. It really wasn't like a strict order, but at the same time, it was kind of understood that like talking about the A's too much is going to get you in trouble. Like you'll wind up getting called into management if you're talking too much A's on the flagship for the Giants. Here's something else I found. It was kind of disappointing, because I am a hockey fan. I like hockey, and there were times, the Sharks went to the Stanley Cup Finals. They had some great teams not that long ago. But I'll tell you right now, man, I make no bones about this. I was told point blank by certain members of KMBR management, do not talk about hockey for prolonged periods of time, because they were afraid we'd lose listeners. Like it was too much of a niche sport in the Bay Area. I would argue that. I think there are more Shark fans and they don't have a home. Like that's the problem. Shark fans that want to hear Shark talk, they don't really have a place to go. And when you try to deliver that, you're kind of told not to. So yeah, there are politics involved too. Like Niners, Giants, fine. And even when the Warriors left KMBR, it was kind of understood. The Warriors with their dynasty and Steph Curry, it's okay to talk about them because people want that. But they would have argued, Joe, our audience would not have wanted A's, and our audience, I was told, did not want to hear Sharks talk. But I would argue both counts that they do. But it's one of those kind of political things of working for a company that ultimately does control your content to a degree. And doing this, it's all up to us, which is such a relief. I love the freedom of this format. I really do.
Absolutely. So, Paulie, just for fun here, just for fun. That's something Radnich used to say. Really pissed my dad off a lot. But let's go around the horn. We do a thing where we're talking about what we're wearing and what we're drinking.
Yeah.
I see you're wearing something and it has a nice feel for our show.
Yeah.
So let's start with Dave. What are you wearing and what are you drinking right now?
Yeah, man. I got on the Hum Daddy's special shirt. We'll look backwards for you guys.
Nice.
And wearing the classic Away Bonds 02 jersey, as I only have this one right now in my Aubrey Huff, which is not to be worn on this podcast ever again.
I hear you. I hear you.
And and drinking a Fieldwork out of Napa. This one's a West Coast Pilsner called Outdoor. And love Fieldwork. It's my favorite brewery in the Bay.
Nice.
Giuseppe.
Joe, I'll just throw it to you.
Yeah. The aforementioned the stick tee here. Got my Oakland hat. Not an A's hat, just an Oakland hat because the A's are dead to me now. John Fisher can FJF right off.
Yes.
And I am drinking a very special beer today. It is a Kirkland Lager. I'd like everybody to know about it. It's actually a Deschutes beer, and it's the best deal going. It's very good.
Nice.
Yeah, 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock came a little early today. So here we go.
Sweet. I'll go. Paul, do you remember the 94 Giants?
Oh, yeah.
I'm wearing a Darryl Strawberry 94 Giants jersey.
Oh, dude. Yes. Yes, man. Yes.
And I'm drinking out of an Old English 800 pint glass.
Damn.
but it's a Michelob Ultra Zero.
Okay.
That's a good beer right there. It's nice and light. You can put a few of those down. I got to tell you, first of all, compliments all around the horn. My T-shirt game and my drink game is far below your level or your standard. But let me tell you what I'm bringing to the table. This is my buddy's brewery out in Danville, and I think this was named by his kids, that they would see him drinking a beer, and then they would say, "Oh, that's Daddy Soda." So he actually brews beer now called Daddy Soda. So I'm kind of pimping this for him. Anyway, if you stop by in Danville, go grab yourself a Daddy Soda. And then, dude, I'm drinking just direct from the unfiltered tap. It's some of Sam Raffel's finest. It's pure H2O. But I will tell you this, when I wrap up the interview today and then come 5 o'clock, I'll be pouring myself an adult beverage as well. I'm just not there yet. I got to go water, hydrate before the cocktail hour. That's kind of my approach.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so let me get into a couple things just so I could cover, like, get, a few fanatic things covered.
Sure.
Yeah. I want to tell you, have this vague memory of you talking about Murph was taking his kids to his youngest son to some kids concert. And I remember you talking about taking one of your kids to the Wiggles concert.
Dude, I did. I think I saw 2 Wiggles gigs, actually. I think I had 2 kids, 2 sons, and when they were young, like the first one, we get to do something, and then my younger son would always be like, well, I want to do that too on my birthday. So I'm pretty sure, Jake, I wound up seeing 2 Wiggles shows.
Well, I think the Wiggles are as good as it gets for kids' music. They at least play instruments and stuff. I just took my daughter on June 5th, I believe, to her first concert. It was a Wiggles show at the Paramount in Oakland.
See? Yeah.
So I thought of you on that one.
Oh, yeah. It's
I
like
also want to say
kids. It's like mayhem. And the kids lose their minds, bro. The Wiggles come out and they're playing like these pedestrian songs. Yeah, here's a song about fruit salad. And the crowd goes like kids are like, if they had lighters, they'd be lighting their lighters. It's like, I always tripped out on like the kid reaction to the Wiggles. I'm like, what are these guys doing that I don't see? Because like I'm falling asleep up here and the kids were losing their minds. So, bro, I understand the dynamic. It's really, it was a trip.
Oh, yeah. And also, I want to comment on one of the funniest things I've ever heard listening to the radio was a tour of your open casket. I think this was during COVID.
It was, yeah, totally. That was fun. Yeah.
It's hard to fill people in if they didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any chance you can take a stab at that one?
Yeah. I mean, I remember. So, and that was, I tell you what, man, that stretch of time was unlike anything I've ever experienced. All of us, it was crazy for everybody. But for us, we were no longer, literally, we are not allowed to go to the radio station during the COVID pandemic. So what happened was they sent station engineers out to my house, to Murph's house. And I'm trying to remember who else was on the show at that time. I think Adam Copeland was our producer at that time. So what they did was they came and they put ISDN lines in all of our homes, which allows you to broadcast through the internet. And then they could pick up the signal back at the station and then put it on the air. So it was kind of a makeshift setup. I was sitting in my living room by myself. It was really weird because in radio, as you guys know, it does depend to a degree, like on eye contact and cues. Like when Murph and I would be in the studio together, if he was talking, he was in the middle of some take and I had something to add, like I would raise my hand. So he knew, all right, when he's done with this, he's going to yield because I'm going to jump in and say something. But when we were broadcasting from home, we had there was no ability to kind of cue each other. But that particular day, I don't know how it came up, but at one point we started talking about funerals and this and that. And I was like, well, when I die, why don't you guys just put me like in an open, like a plexiglass casket that's through. And I'm just like, you know what, just wheel me around the city and let people throw flowers or whatever they want to do. Throw their ashtrays at me, whatever form of tribute or anger you can enjoy. And then it turned into this thing where they were going to park me on the corner of Broadway and Columbus and just let people come by and pay their respects. But the funny thing about that, Jake, was it was funny when we were doing it. I remember laughing a lot. And then it would always come popping up back in future shows, like 6 months down the road. Murph would be like, hey, don't forget, when Paulie Mac checks out, we're going to stick him in the casket and then wheel him around town. So yeah, I'm glad you remembered that, Jake. Yeah, it was fun. We had so much fun doing that show. And I love Murph, for the record. Like Murph and I are still boys. We still do events together. Like he and I are going to host the annual Sound Summit concert up on Mount Tam. That's a show they do every September. Yeah. And Murph and I have emceed that thing for at least 10 years. And we're going to continue. We'll be doing that in September.
That's
and
awesome.
Yeah, and you know what, dude? Like when the smoke dies down, or when the dust settles, rather, I'll get Murph back on my show. But like when they found out he was coming on my show, they were none too happy. They're basically trying to keep us separated because I think that they see us honestly like as a threat. Like if Murph and I like get in the same room or get on the same mic again, I think that worries some people that want to make sure he stays where he is, if you know what I mean. Like, so it's a delicate dance we're doing right now, but Murph and I still love each other, man. And we both wish we were still working together. Totally. It was unfortunate how it went down, but they kind of separated us, and that's where it stands.
I saw you got an extension and there's that provision. It's pretty shady, but
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it too much. Giuseppe, you got anything?
Yeah. Well, I heard you. I heard you listen to. I was listening to Particles earlier today,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
you're talking about Alex Smith. And it
Yeah.
reminded me that is my favorite 49er of all time.
Nice.
And I just remember these huge radio wars where it was just like Alex Smith versus Kaepernick. I just felt like it was Alex was my guy for 2011. He kind of ran the table and had this magical year. The Saints win, and then that god awful NFC Championship muddy mess of a game.
Yep.
And then the running back in 2012, they're 6-2, and he gets concussed.
Yep.
And then Kaepernick takes over. It felt wrong that he took over on the concussion. And I just remember the radio just constantly. How do you remember that time? Just like,
well, I think I was actually kind of in the minority, Joe, because I'm a little closer to how you saw the whole situation. I mean, I think everybody kind of got seduced by Kaepernick's athleticism, which was impressive. I mean, there's no getting around it. He was a very impressive athlete, but I feel like, first of all, there's kind of this unwritten rule in the NFL where you shouldn't lose your job to an injury. Like, you shouldn't lose your starting status to an injury, especially somebody like Alex Smith, who had gone through, I think, 5 offensive coordinators in 5 years. I mean, like, the deck was stacked against him immediately. He got drafted #1 pick overall, and he played on some really shitty teams with bad offensive lines. So finally, when he started to get the right team around him, you saw what he was capable of. And he actually turned into like a good leader. Guys really cared about Alex Smith. They wanted to fight for him. And the fact that Harbaugh took the keys away from him so quickly, I felt like it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction. I remember the whole thing. I think it was either a Sunday night or a Monday night game at Candlestick when Kaepernick started. I think they were playing the Bears. And he made a bunch of plays. He had some flashy runs, and all of a sudden I think Harbaugh was like, I can get first downs with this guy just by him using his legs. But what happened ultimately was the league caught up to Kaepernick. I mean, he wasn't a savvy reader of defenses. He wasn't a polished NFL quarterback. He was more of a street game guy. Like, if my receivers are covered, I'm going to tuck the ball in and I'm going to make a play myself. I'm going to head upfield. And he could. He was athletic enough to do that. But then the NFL and defenses adjusted to him. And you saw the result of that. It kind of exposed him for being the limited kind of the limited kind of NFL caliber quarterback he was. I remember a game in Atlanta where, I mean, I think he threw 3 or 4 interceptions in the first half. I mean, it got really bad with Kaepernick. And then all the other drama with the kneeling and the national anthem, I mean, the whole thing just unraveled. And I feel bad about what happened to him. I do think the NFL kind of blackballed him to a degree, and I don't agree with that. I think he should have had the right to earn a job somewhere. But going back to your original point, Joe, I think you could build an argument and say that whole scenario where we wound up going and losing to the Ravens in the Super Bowl with Kaepernick, that might have looked a little bit different with Alex Smith under center. I'm just throwing that out there, like, for consideration. I'm not saying they would have won, but they might have. And that whole second half, I mean, it might have been a little bit of a different look if they had stayed. And plus, it just was a bad look for Harbaugh after, like, Alex is my guy. This is my guy. I love this guy. And then he just turns his back on him immediately.
I was just tortured as a fan.
Yeah.
Let's turn it on the radio, and everybody was like, "Oh, Kaepernick, he's so special," and all this. I'm like, well, our guy Alex took us from nothing.
I know.
Now we got this team, and he ended up being a great, game manager at Kansas City. And I just felt his whole career, I just feel like he kind of got screwed.
He did. I agree with you, man. And I can tell you from my experiences, he is one of the, I mean, he's at the very top of the list for being one of the nicest guys I've ever met, like who's like kind of a star in his league. And he was a star at that time, like 2011. Dude, you mentioned that Saints game, Joe. You go back and watch highlights of that game. He was making incredible throws in that game, like that Vernon Davis pass down the sideline. I mean, he just dropped it right in his hands in motion.
And that bootleg to the hut, right? The bootleg he had to the hut?
Oh, dude, one of my favorite plays of all time. And probably the last truly great classic game played at Candlestick. Like, that was like the last great magical afternoon. The night we shut it down, too, with the Navarro Bowman interception, that was pretty awesome, too. Yeah. But that Saints game, dude, that was an all-timer. That was
all classic. 3 of us were at Greens in the city for the Bowman game. To watch
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh yeah, no, good spot, man. That's a good spot to watch a game. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
for
place
sure.
will be going nuts. Yeah.
And to comment on the, I don't know if it was the Kaepernick loss in the Super Bowl, but one of those just devastating games, Paulie, on your soundboard, that fucking De Niro laugh from Cape Fear that I heard again recently on your Paulie's particles. Like, ah!
Yeah, that's him in Cape Fear. That's De Niro
Yeah.
out of his mind, insane, sitting there watching a movie in the
Watching
theater.
like Dennis the Menace or something.
Yeah, he's like smoking a huge cigar, just burning there's smoke all over you. I mean, it's totally insane. But dude, nice, David, nice.
Yeah, and that's something I remember just being devastated in that. I'm a huge De Niro guy, and that's a part of why I loved your show. You guys would talk Scorsese, De Niro, you know.
Yeah.
And when I heard that laugh, it put me in such a better mood. I was like, just thinking of fucking De Niro and Cape Fear doing push-ups in the pen and stuff. Yeah. It put me in a much better place.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
For sure. Yeah.
Hey, Paulie, we've had quite a few debates about Brock Purdy and where he sits and kind of the fanfare for Niner fans as we kind of had this transition period out of the, a few quarterbacks that were kind of game managers. He's a game manager by, Cam Newton standards. Where do you see Brock in the Niners lore in the early years?
It's funny, man. I was just looking at a stat last night, and, it's stuff like this that makes you kind of consider what he's accomplished in such a short amount of time. Like already, Brock Purdy has more postseason wins than, why am I blanking on his name? Quarterback in Baltimore. Help me out.
Lamar Jackson.
Thank you. Jackson. Hello. Yes, Lamar. Like he has more playoff wins than Lamar Jackson already. It's kind of crazy. And where does he fit in? I really think Steve Young said it best a very long time ago, having to follow Joe Montana. And Steve said this before he won his Super Bowl. And the question was very similar. It was like, hey, Steve, how do you think the fans are treating you? And have you been accepted, as a true 49er? And Steve Young said, listen, I think the fans like me, but they're never going to love me unless I deliver a Super Bowl. And I do feel that is kind of the standard in San Francisco based on our legacy and everything we've built and the fact that they've been so close in the past decade, multiple times. They've had NFC championship losses. As you guys know, they've lost the 3 Super Bowls, 1 with Harbaugh, 2 with Shanahan. It's like until we can take that final step, and that goes for Brock Purdy too, until he can lead this team to the mountaintop, I think that he will be considered as he's a good, solid, capable quarterback, pretty smart guy, makes good decisions. He's tougher than people give him credit for. That might be one of his like underrated attributes. He's a tough kid. And but he's got to win it all, man. I hate to be that brass tacks, but until he delivers a title, I don't think he'll ever be considered like one of the great Niner quarterbacks. He's good, but he's not great. Not yet, in my book.
Would he be like your Jeff Garcia level currently?
It's not a bad comparison. I mean, really, Garcia didn't kind of have the playoff glory that Brock Purdy has enjoyed. I mean, Garcia had some nice games in the playoffs, but not like what we've seen with Brock. And that's not a bad comparison. And listen, no shade on Garcia. He was a Pro Bowler. He had some years. Yeah, he won some playoff games.
Yeah,
you gotta deliver a title here, man. Yeah, you have to, or you will not be remembered or considered amongst the the truly greats.
And that's been the problem with Shanahan. Shanahan's obviously a great coach, right? The guy has schemed his ass off, but I find him to be somewhat of a head case when it comes down to deliver the knockout blow in very big situations. He seems to kind of get in his head and freak out sometimes. And especially this last Super Bowl was worse than ever. And I think Brock did enough to win that game. And I think Shanahan should have been running more in the third quarter instead of just having Brock drop back and, pass, under center. I don't know.
Hey, Paulie, help us out here. Jake is always just trashing our coach.
I'm trashing him to finish the deal. Like you're talking about, you need to finish the deal.
Yeah, you know what, Jake? I don't think anything you said is inaccurate. I don't think it's unreasonable. I here's the thing. I really like Shanahan, and I ask myself this question a lot. Excuse me, because I know a lot of people are burnt on Shanahan because of reasons like you said, Jake. He does tighten up in big games. He hasn't been able to protect leads that he's had in these Super Bowls. He has to find a way to close. He's got to close the deal. And I do think that he's so smart. He almost like overthinks situations, like you said. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as, hey, listen, We got a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter of a Super Bowl. Let's run the goddamn ball and go home. And we'll have a parade down Market Street. It's going to be great. Instead, he's got Garoppolo dropping back, throwing 50-yard bombs. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, because Kansas City could not stop the run. And I think if Shanahan would have just seen what was in front of him and ran the ball out and killed the clock, I think they would have won that first Super Bowl, the first one against Kansas City. But I asked myself this question, you guys, if we do get so unhappy with Shanahan that we're trying to push him out the door, who are you going to get to replace him that's going to maintain this level of kind of offensive firepower and fear? I think, I do think Shanahan is like, he's such a great offensive mind. Defensive coordinators, no, they have their hands full when they're taking on a Niner game or a Niner offense. Like, that's a tough assignment. So, and I would ask you guys that too. Like, if Shanahan goes, who do we get that's going to be at that level and deliver the same kind of results? Like, I don't have an answer to that question.
Well, Paulie, Shanahan was that this last year. From a lot of people say the league's kind of caught up to a lot of his schemes.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 6-11.
Yeah. No, you're right. No, he's got a lot to answer for, man. Like, this is a big year, you guys, and I know you know that, but they not only have to turn this thing around. Like I said multiple times earlier, I think they need to win the whole thing. Like, that's the only way to, and the window's going to close, man. They've already lost Greenlaw. You see all these guys, Hufanga, Debo, we could wind up losing Brandon Ayuk soon. So it's like, while they still have the talent, while they still have the health, before guys start getting injured, like we've already seen that happen, I think they got to do it like right now. And I know that's a tall order, but that's where I think they are. Yes, they got to answer to that 6-11 season, but they also have to make, I think, a deep run in the playoffs. And as I keep saying, dude, come back with a Lombardi trophy. Seriously. Anything less than that is going to be disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, the Super Bowl loss when you had a healthy McCaffrey, you had a healthy Kittle, everyone was healthy.
Yeah.
That was the most stacked Niners team since '94, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe to that level, like the same amount of offensive talent and defensive talent. They were stacked. They had the best roster in the NFL. You had to win that game, and it just felt like the soul of the Niners were sucked out, and we're still feeling like the repercussions from it now.
And I do think there's some kind of, I mean, this is just an observation. This is obviously not a fact, but I do feel like there is a little bit of a built-in fear now with Mahomes and the Chiefs, where even if the Niners have a nice lead, which they did, they had a 10-point lead, I think they look at Mahomes and they're like waiting for something bad to happen. But you're right. No, I do. I get that sense sometimes. It's like, something's coming. We just don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to be late in the fourth quarter. But you know what, Jake, I totally agree. I think the Niners, talent-wise, were definitely the better team in the most recent Super Bowl, and they just kind of choked it away. They just couldn't figure out a way to hold on to their lead and win that game. Yeah,
Paulie, that's how I felt when Aikman used to take the field against the Niners before we got the Dion blast off and get past that team. But Aikman had that same feeling. It's just, if you wait too long, they're going to bite you, and it felt like it happened all too often.
You know who else used to do that to us, man? Used to rip my freaking heart out in the 90s, because I had season tickets at the Stick back in the 90s, and during, like, from 95 to early 2000s, it was Brett Favre, dude.
Favre, yep.
Oh, dude, just ripping our heart out year after
first time he got us, too, in the wild card was brutal. Like, who is this guy who's killing us? And I think it was coming off coming off our Super Bowl win, too.
It was.
It's kind of blew us all away. Yeah.
You're exactly right. And that's, you know what, you guys, you got to think about it, man. You guys are all young. It's like so I have two kids now that one just graduated college and the other one is still in college. These kids love the Niners too, and they don't know the winning tradition. They've seen 3 Super Bowl losses.
Right.
They've seen NFC Championship losses. So to them, they're like the new Buffalo Bills, kind of, where it's like, yeah, we're always really good and we're going to go. But I know, dude, it sucks. And I try to tell my kids, I'm like, guys, we used to go to Super Bowls and win them. We used to win these damn things. Now,
5 in 15 years, we only won.
I know. And 94 is way back there in the rearview mirror now, man. It's time for we need some new memories here, kids. Let's
we're due.
Put a parade of our own here. Yeah.
Paul, I got a dad question for you, since you're a fellow daddy.
Yeah.
And a music lover. I went to a show last night at the Independent, and I just can't get through the day today. How did you do it? Did you go to shows when you were a kid, or like when can I do that again? Because I tell you what, I went to the independent. I saw 2 acts. They came as soon as the last one was done. I was back, but today I'm just cashed.
No, that's the thing. You got to know what the assignment is going in. So imagine doing what you did, Joe, and working a fucking morning show, bro.
Oh, we just stay up all night. I don't know.
I had a couple times I did. I would get home from gigs really late. And first of all, I would only do that if it was a band I really, really wanted to see. But I got to the point where when I started doing the morning show with Murph in 06, I was like, I tried to be a good boy and I was being a little Boy Scout. And I'm like, well, I'm going to try to get as much sleep as I can and I'll feel good tomorrow. And then I got to the point where years were going by and I'm like, dude, I'm missing a lot of great shows. Screw it. I got to live my life. So I just started going to see shows and knowing the next day was going to be like a death sentence. So what I would do is I would do the show, try to give like the best riffs I could for 4 hours. And then when that show ended, out the door, right back into bed. I would like drive home and just literally go right. So it'd be like 4 hours of total grogginess. But sometimes, you know what I found, you guys, looking back on those days, is sometimes I feel like, you know, when you say you watch a pitcher and you're like, damn, he's got good stuff today. I felt like sometimes I had my best stuff when I was underslept, which is kind of crazy. But I would go in there kind of groggy, like just pounding coffee. And suddenly, like, I would feel like, you know what? Like my riffs are working today. I'm landing some punches. So it was an interesting dance I partook in there. But I also decided I was going to live my life. I'm not going to miss shows. I'll just pay for it the day after and then catch up on sleep however I could. So keep going, Joe. Don't hold back, man.
All right, there's light at the end of the tunnel. All right.
Yeah, live your life, man. You got to enjoy life. You do.
Yeah, so we don't want to keep you much longer. Drop anchor like Kruger, I heard you say.
Have you guys had Kruger on yet? Has he been on the show?
I'm trying to get him on, but not yet. No.
Oh, you should reach out. I'll tell him. I'll put a bug in his ear for you guys.
Cool.
He's great. He is like, as you know, I mean, he is a scientist when it comes to the Niners and the Giants. Right. But dude, don't make any plan. Pack a one. Dude, Kruger comes in, he drops that, and he'll say stuff like this. He'll be like, yeah, you know, I think I'll be on for 15, 20 minutes. Now you look at your watch, it's like 90 minutes deep. You're like, damn. And there's no way to stop him. Once he gets rolling, he's like he's a wrecking ball. But no, he's a great guy. And you should get him on sometime. Yeah, you'll love him. Good. He's great.
Appreciate it. So yeah, I just want to end with, I'm a huge U2 fan. You and Murph both would talk about U2.
Yeah.
I remember, I think you gifted him the Songs of Surrender, like biography or autobiography.
Yeah, that's right. I gave him the book.
Yeah. So did you end up seeing them in the Sphere? I know you saw a Daddy Co there, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't see U2 at the Sphere, but I'll definitely see him again when they go back on tour. And you know what? I have a feeling. I feel like I just have a sense that this next U2 record that comes out is going to be a really good one. I just feel that because sometimes, you know, the last time I saw U2 live was a while ago, man. It was on the last big tour they did,
like 2018 or 19, San Jose.
Yeah, exactly. And I liked the show. But I got to tell you, it was the first U2 show I ever went to where there was not a full house. Like the show was not sold out. And they actually curtained off some of the sections because it was so undersold. And I was wow, I never thought I would see that at a U2 gig. So on the heels of that, when they've been in situations like this in the past, like for example, coming off the album Pop, which I now love, by the way, I love that album. When it came out, I was not like mature enough to, honestly, it was on me. I just wasn't like evolved enough to wrap my head around it because I wanted them to be the same band that they were like in the 80s, but they were growing and they were trying new things. And I was like, oh, you know, this album sucks. I can't believe they're doing dance music and blah, 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 blah. But what happened was right after that album, they kind of went back and delivered a masterpiece in All That You Can't Leave Behind. And that tour, that was one of my favorite U2 tours I've ever seen. So I kind of think that's where they are now. They came off a tour that wasn't smoking hot. They weren't selling out all the gigs. And that usually means they're going to get centered again and deliver something really special. So I will be there, Jake, and we'll talk before that, you know, but whenever they get back on the road and drop a new record, I'm definitely going to go see them. And I think it's going to be a good one.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge Octung Baby fan. So I went to the Sphere and saw them play that record and it was just fucking mind blowing. But it was like, that's their old shit. You know, I'd like to hear a masterpiece again. And it's been a while. Yeah,
Me too. Me too. But hopefully we'll get one, man. Hopefully they're going to deliver.
Yeah. So anybody, anything else for Paulie on the way out? Don't want to keep him too much longer.
Good vibing with you, Paulie.
Yeah, no, it's just great. It's great to meet you guys, man. And thanks for having me on today and giving me some time. And just do, like I said, just keep doing. How long have you guys been doing your show? How long has it been going on?
Since
We're
last
doing it a year, pretty much.
Yeah,
Okay.
since the winter.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Just keep going, man. Don't get discouraged. Some shows are better than others. Like that's just part of it. And never get, my advice is, because I mean, when we would have a bad show at KMBR, it would really affect me. And then the next day I would want to be like, all right, we got to do a great show today. But what I learned over the years is, man, there's always tomorrow. There's always another show. So don't get too high or too low. Don't get too high after a great show. Don't get too low after a bad one, because you can always straighten it out the next day. And that's it. You guys just keep doing what you're doing. You got a great vibe here, man. Nice and casual. And anything I can do down the road or anytime you want to rap, just give me a shout. We'll do it again.
For sure.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate
That's
the
awesome.
time, Paulie Mac, legend, Bay Area sports legend. Thank you, sir. Sir Paul.
Thank you, boys.
All right, brother.
Cheers.
All right. Paulie Mac. How about that, huh?
That was great. What a guy.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
guy.
Great vibes.
What a
Particles
guy.
were there.
Boy, that guy could just
Unreal.
hand over the
Yeah.
keys. He'll run a show
Just
for you.
roll out of bed and do it.
There's a reason why he's a voice on radio for so many years, is he can fill the air with such casual nature, but it's so crisp, clear. It's cool. It's real
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
He was born to do it. I unfortunately might have heard some mic indifferences there again for the. How are you guys? You think it could be handled on mixing?
He was a little low. Dave was a little loud.
Yeah.
But, I would.
This, just so you guys, I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah.